Hello everyone, Lola here, and today I am going to do a review, an unboxing and walkthrough of the 5 Cent Tarot, the second edition by Madam Clara. As you know, if you are familiar with the channel, you already know that I do have the first edition and I've been using it quite a lot in the previous video. The first edition is literally my go-to deck. And so I just received, actually yesterday, I received the second edition. The way I'm actually going to do this video is that since you already are familiar with the first edition, and if you are not, if you're just finding this video out of the blue, I did make a walkthrough and review of the first edition a few months back, so you can definitely check the link for that video in the description below. But for those of you who are familiar with the channel already and who have seen those videos using the first edition of this deck, I'm just going, honestly, there is not much to say about the second edition. Yes, there have been a few changes, some cards, not all. Some cards have been changed slightly, but really it's not a big deal. So that's why I'm actually going to do the walkthrough of each card side by side. So on one side I will have the first edition, and the other one I will have the second edition. And of course, if you have any questions, please let them know in the comments. I read all the comments. I love interacting with you guys. And yeah, so I guess let's dive in. Actually, before I even go ahead, I want to say of course, there's a backstory in all this. I originally received this deck a few weeks back, about 2 weeks ago, at the time I'm shooting this video. But I had to return it because the color that I picked originally, I made a mistake when I first ordered it. And looking at this label here, that's how I actually realized, wait a minute, that's not what what I meant to select. So I had to send it for an exchange and got the color that I was originally wanting to order. And also I want to say the communication, yes, I use this video as well to give a review, even though I go back to give a review of the deck. But I also want to say that the owner, the owner artist behind this deck, he is actually amazing. He's amazing, he's understanding, he's very patient. And yes, his name is Rick. And so he was all through the process, he was literally by my side. Like, even when I reached out to inquire about the deck, and ask if even it was possible to still make an exchange at that time, because I was one of the backers. And yes, on Kickstarter I was among the backers, and I know there were a lot of orders. And so, but I also didn't want to, it actually went straightforward. He told me, yeah, if you want to exchange, just let me know what you want to exchange. He asked if I wanted to exchange the bag or whatever. I said nope, just the deck. He sent me the label for the envelope and all I had to do was to go back to the post office with the original deck in a package. He did the exchange, everything went well. So thank you so much, Rick. That was awesome. You are awesome. So now, I did show this piece here in the previous unboxing video that I did, but I'm going to do it again. So the whole package, actually, this is what comes in the whole package that I received. There were various options to back the project. And at the time, I could only back the project for this one that I have here, which included one deck with the bag, and this little gift here that I'm going to talk about later again. I also want to say, let's touch the bag first. Originally, in my order as well, the bag was also a mix-up. My first edition came with the red bag, which was originally what I had ordered for. They were supposed to come this way, but again, Rick was very understanding too at the time when I got the first edition, which was actually one of the last one that they had. He did a flash sale, and I was lucky to have my hand on the five on the first edition. So sending this with the first edition, he just swapped and sent this with the second editions. But now that they are together, they're going to be going the way they were supposed to originally, because the idea was green deck with a green bag and the color of this deck with the red bag. And another thing that I want to say on the bag is, yes, I talked about it a little bit in the review for the first edition, but I want to point out that these bags belong to the first edition actually, because the second edition, the bags are similar, different colors, but they don't have the tassels. And I really wanted the tassel, and at the time when the project, soon after backing the project was actually completed, Rick let us know that he did have just a few of these bags left with tassel, and that's why I went about this and actually request a tassel, a bag with a tassel, versus one of the bag for the newer edition without the tassel. I just love the tassel. I mean, and I think with the tassel it's prettier. Not to say that the bags without the tassels are not pretty. They pretty as well, but the tassels to me adds something a little more. So when you open the box, you have the bag, the deck, the card, and this little gift. If you bagged, there were options that included matching tarot cloths, and another option that did include two deck, well, two of each, but probably not two of this one. I don't remember, but it was definitely two deck, two bags, two matching cloths, and the cards. This is the card that comes with it. Yes, you can see this one is pretty beat up. I believe this is actually the one that came originally, because I never took out the one that came. Yes, I had another one when I had this deck as well. But this is the card that comes with each deck. I'll let you read for yourself. And the back, of course, the back has the eye of the seer, Madam Clara's eye. So that's that. And here we do have a coin, which is gorgeous. I like, of course, the fact, this little bag is just way too cute. It really is. And the coin that comes with it is, on one side you have yes, and then on the other side you have no. And to be honest with you, when we received pictures of these coins that were being made as well, the first thing that I actually thought of, I don't know if you're familiar with Brazilian steakhouses, or if you've ever been to one or any. What happens there is, okay, Brazilians are very big in meat. Like, don't play with their meat. So when you go to a Brazilian house, a Brazilian steakhouse, you have, of course, the buffet, where, of course, it's a buffet. You eat as much as you want, but you also have coins. Well, they're not this small. They are actually, they're bigger, but that's what I thought of. On one side it is red, and on the other side it is green. I'm going to call it coin, even though it's bigger than this. What that does is, as long as you have the green side up on the table, the meat keeps coming, and you have all kind of meats. So it's literally, yes, it is an invitation for the servers, the cook, to send servers to your table with all kind of meats possible. And when you flip that to the red side, that's it. Once they see it, they see the red side of that coin on your table, the meat is no longer coming. That's to them, to tell them, okay, that's it, no more. So anyway, I'm talking about it because that's what I thought of when when I saw this coin, and that's still what I think of when I see this coin. So coming closer, bringing this closer, you have yes, destiny, fate, fortune, and it's written we and yeah. which is German and French, and then of course yes, both for yes and 5 cents. And on the back you have see, all, no, all, and of course in the middle you have no, then non for no in French, and nine for no in German. So that is pretty neat. Other than that, the coin is you can get the coin separately. If you are interested on Madam Clara's Etsy, you can definitely get the coin separately. But it was nice. It was a nice addition. Then I put this aside. I put the bag aside as well. Well, actually, I'm putting it close by. I haven't disclosed the color of this deck. There were, well, at first there were so many decks, like crazy many. But then it came down to just 4 colors, and even with those 4 colors, it was still difficult to choose. Even though looking at everything, I had my number one choice, which is what I have here. But looking at the other colors too, they were all appealing. They were really cute, and you could really have a different back with the edges of the same color or different color. That was neat. So I'm going to open this. I will be right back. So I got back with my letter opener, and I'm just going to be careful not to damage the boxy stuff. Okay, so the boxy stuff is, as you can see, it's different from the first edition in color. It's yellow, and it's actually a pretty yellow. I do love yellow, and putting them side by side, not the other way. So this is what they look side by side. The bag, they're pretty much the same, and of course they do have the 78 colors of the tarot with the extra 4 major arcanas, which I have been using with the first edition in my readings. So I would say from outside, the boxes, they look like they are pretty much the same size, so not change there. Now let's open. And opening, we have as the card as the first edition. As the card, we have the booklet. And if you are familiar with the channel, you already know my thought on the booklet. Well, not my thought, but usually I do not read usually I don't care much about the booklet. Not to say that I just discard them. I still keep them in the box and keep them handy, because some decks you have to check some cards, especially those that have the extra cards like this one. You want to know what those cards are, and you don't even need, you don't have to, but if you want to work with them, you may. Honestly, the only time that I opened this booklet for the first edition was when I was doing the walkthrough of the first edition, and after that I never open it again, because for all my readings I rely more on my guides than I do on the cards. But that's that. And also, yeah, I'm not to say I throw this away. I always leave them in the deck. In the event that I have to I want to give away a deck, I want to make sure that if I give away a deck, the deck is complete, not because the booklet is not of use to me, that it won't be for whoever I decide to give the deck to. So anyways, the booklets, they look about the same as well. Yeah, I don't expect them to be too different. So we do have the introduction, the major arcana, the teacup. Okay, slightly different the way it is written in the order, the order of things is different. So we start with the major arcanas. Okay, the first difference already is, if I go by the booklet, I expect to have the first deck be the Fool. I expect them to start with the major arcanas. then the extra major arcanas, then the matches, which are the ones in the red weight, the teacups, which are the cups, the needles, the swords, button, the coins. For this one, it was a little different. We started with the wands, the matches, the teacup, the needle, the buttons, then the major and the extras. So what I did, since I'm going to be comparing each card side by side, I already put the cards for the first edition in order, and that's actually what I'll be going by. And yes, since I didn't know how to, where we were going to be using, this is actually how I put them in, but they are in order for, each suit is in order already, so we'll touch on them once we get there. So I'll just put this aside, and now the reveal of the color. Which color do you think I picked? I showed you all 4 colors that were down to, so rumbling of the drums. So my choice went for graphite gray, and that is also why I got the red bag for it, because yes, I love all the colors, but also usually whenever I have a choice between bright colors and dark colors, I will go for darker colors. And the graphic gray here was the darkest color that they have. But yes, the original deck that came in was graphite in the back and plain on the edges, which didn't sit well with me. That's why I did the exchange to have the same color graphite on the edges and on the back. So yes, we are actually going to start with the major arcanas, the full. So I'm going to go ahead and rip this thing away. So actually no. Okay, so another thing that I actually want to say about this box is the boxes. As you can see, my box is gray inside. And the reason for that is the inside of the box does match the cards that you picked. So if I had picked the lavender, for instance, the lavender back, the inside here would have been lavender as well. And you can also see that in the first edition, I had the green back and green edges, and the inside was green as well. So that is very neat. The way it was all thought about, that is definitely neat. So starting with those cards, at first hand, I want to say, okay, this is the first edition, second edition. Honestly, I don't see much of the difference in both cards. We still have the writing on, a few keywords. And if you do read reverse, you do have keywords for those as well. But as I mentioned, some cards are different than others. And but we'll see once I do the walkthrough. And also the cards, again, first edition, second edition, they are the same size, really, yeah, same size. And also, even if you have a few differences between on some cards between the second edition and the first edition, it still doesn't matter. You don't need the first edition to use the second edition, and vice versa. But since I do happen to have both, that's why I'm doing a side-by-side comparison as well. So I don't want to say the coloring is slightly different on those two cards. So what I mean is, if you look carefully, the first edition has more of a colder finish than this one. Here, in terms of colors, we are more on the warmer side than on the first edition. And another thing that I also just realized right now, the wording changed a little bit. So on top here for the first edition, we have motherhood, and second edition we have creativity, then nature, nurture. And if we flip those two cards, now as they are flipped, this is the second edition and first edition, and here we have dependence, so that's dead. And here too we have the same thing, slight change of the wording, wisdom and morality, which are both things that those cards are about. Well, actually here it was flipped, because we do have wisdom here and morality there, and then on the first edition, wisdom and morality. Again, here we see the same thing, commitment, partnership, commitment, relationship, and we have choices, flipping them around. Now second edition, first edition, discord, disharmony, infidelity. So one thing definitely to say about these cards, this deck, as I said also in the video for the first edition, is this deck, if you are learning tarot with the cards, the fact that you have wording on the cards, it may or not be of help to you. But at the same time, I want to say these are still not cards. I will still not consider this card for beginners, even though we have some of the keywords that the cards are about. And the reason why I would say I would not recommend this for beginners is the art. So I would definitely say someone maybe intermediate will start with this intermediate and up. Well, at least just be familiar with the art in the Rider Waite. And of course, in my case, those little words, sometimes at first when I started working with the deck, when looking at the deck, it was actually the wording were actually distraction to me. And here and there, I do look at the wording and I find them helpful, because being a polyglot, I look for my words a lot. And the reason is, first of all, I do have, some people see colors in front of their eyes. I do see words. And the words that I do see, they are in all different languages. And the reason, like before I speak, it's like having a script in front of me of what I'm going to say. I don't know if it makes sense, but I do see words. It's they pop in front of my eyes. And honestly, the day that I'm going to wake up and not see words anymore, that's the day I'm going to freak out, because that's the day I would know something is wrong with me. But anyways, having the cards like that has been helpful in my case, because all those words, like I said, they all pop in front of me, in front of my eyes in different language. And if I'm not careful when I speak, I put all those words in different language in what I say, which makes myself not understandable for the people I am talking to. So in that case, this deck has been helpful as well. Like I will give a reading, and then especially when I start channeling, because sometimes I do receive the information. I always say, guides, they don't speak human language. If you understand them in human language, it's because your brain has done the translation already. actually have two guides. When they pop up, for some reason that I don't know, the translation is always in Italian. So when they do pop up and I'm translating, I'm giving the reading in English, and what they're saying is coming in Italian, then I have to translate from Italian to English, and then Italian being too close to French. Now I have issues because now that word is coming in French and sometimes it's Spanish or Portuguese, and I'm just so anyway, when I just look, that's when I usually get stuck and like okay, what's the word? Someone help me here. What's the word? And then looking at here, sometimes the word is in front of me on the card, sometimes it's not. It sounds really weird, but that's how I operate in my head, that's how things operate in my head. But anyways, let's get to the chariot card. So again, the coloring here slightly different. Again, we have difference of words, self-mastery and influence in the first edition and second edition, slightly different. So control, discipline in the second edition, control, compassion in the second edition. And when we flip it, helplessness, insecurity for the second edition, self-doubt, insecurity for the first edition. Again, first edition, second edition. Second edition, first edition. So this is a card, I have to say, one of the cards that was revised a little more, because as you can see, the birds on the cards, they both changed. And here we do have renewal, hope, then we have hope here too, that moved up here on the second edition, and renewal came down. So these are the extra cards for the major arcanas, and I don't believe anything changed with them. I would be surprised if anything did. And again, I want to say, those extra major arcanas, you don't have to use them, I do, just because that's when I started using this deck, the first edition. My guide, they wanted to use all cards. Usually the decks that I get, usually I don't use the extra cards, but for some reason this deck, they decided to use the full package. Oh, here we have some difference. The extra difference that we have is just the flowers in the second edition. In the first edition, we don't have those extra flowers. That's neat. So now we get to the matches. So let's see. Another thing that I want to say with these cards is that the second edition has the cards slightly more vibrant than the first edition. I don't know if that makes sense what I'm trying to say, but when you look at both colors, both decks, there is more vibrance in this one than in that one. And also, yes, I know I have been using the first edition for a few months now, but still, that will still not make that much of a difference in the deck. And but nothing wrong with that. Not that the first edition is not clear or whatsoever. The second edition is just more vibrant. And another thing that I am actually just realizing is that the labels, those main labels, they seem to follow the color of the box. Because in the first edition, the box is green. As you saw, the box is green in the first edition. And in the second edition, the box is yellow. And those labels in the second edition, I just realized it now. On the second edition, they're yellowish. In the first edition, they're greenish. So, I mean, I can see it with the naked eye. So I think you can see what I am talking about. Those labels, greenish for the first edition and yellowish for the second edition. And actually, that also is, I think that explains why the second edition looks more vibrant than the second edition, because the base of the cards in the second edition are more on the yellow side than on the first edition, where they're more on the greenish side. And that will indeed give the illusion of the second edition being more vibrant. As I said earlier, it's more that, yes, the background of each color, they're not the same. They're greenish on the first edition, yellowish on the second edition. Okay, this is another card that show some changes in the drawing, in the art. Here we had this animal here, disintegrating horse-like thingy, and here we have a different animal, and also that red stuff is gone, because I believe it was part of it was with this animal as well. So the art on this card changed, but not the meaning, even though the wording changed as well. Well, not too much, but still. And it's not like that they change, it's just, I mean, all these cards, they have their meanings and they have different words to explain the cards, and the author just picked different ones for some of them. Doesn't change the meaning of the card though. Which is why I was saying, yes, when you work with cards like this, you still need to know the basis of tarot before you jump into cards like this. And don't get me wrong, the art is beautiful, the art is so great, which was the reason why I went ahead and got the first edition, even though I had already pledged for the second edition and I was just waiting on it. I mean, I had the choice to just sit around and wait for the second edition to come in. But once I saw the opportunity to get the first edition and start working with it, I jumped in. I jumped on that because, yes, the art is is lovely, and the deck, I mean, it spoke to me right away. And many of you also love this deck. So I've had a few questions. I've had questions sometimes when I came up with videos that did not use this deck, and which is not a bad thing. So yes, that's to say that you too love this art. So it is great. And I did have a few friends order this deck, after I did the video for the first edition. I did have friends afterwards who went ahead and ordered the deck. Some of them don't even read. Some of them, they don't read. They just wanted the deck because of the art. And again, nothing wrong with that. Another card that saw some more changes with the art is the Knight of Coins. So in the first edition we have this horse-like animal there, and here we have a different animal. What it actually looks like, I think in French that is pangolin. I don't know what it's called in English, but you clearly see the difference. I hope that's the pangolin though. So this house is new and not here. So there you have it, guys. This was the walkthrough of each of both decks. I'm personally really happy about the second edition. Well, I'm happy about both. And as I said earlier, you don't need the first edition to work with the second edition. The reason why I have both is because, well, I just couldn't wait for the second edition, and I had that opportunity to get the first one when Madam Clara had a flash sale, and I jumped on it. But I really like of course, I love the art like on the first edition. I love the colors, and I like the fact that, well, I like the green over there too, and I think the first edition had a different color too. I just don't remember which one it was, but I'm satisfied I got the this color, granite gray, and the feel, of course, is the same as the other deck, the first edition. So I know you are probably going to ask me next whether or not you will start seeing the second edition on screen. And the answer to that is actually you might. When I'm not sure, because usually I'm very passive when it comes to working with cards. And what I mean by that is that I usually let my gut select the cards that I pick to work with. I let them choose. They choose the cards they want to give information through, and that's what I work with. But I would definitely be doing more readings with the second edition as well. And yes, as you saw, I put them in the pouch that they were originally intended to be in. So let me know your thought if you have any, and your questions in the comments below. I'll be glad to read them all and answer any questions that you may have. Thank you for watching the video till the end. I know this was a really long video. I expected it to be long because just of the fact that there are 78 cards in the tarot, and here we have extra cards as well, so that in total made it to 82 cards to go one by one in. But yeah, really happy with both decks, and whatever my guys decide, I would just pick one. But so far, this one, the first edition, has been my go-to card, so I will not be surprised if I work with both sometime in the same videos. Sometime in the same video, the both both of them, because it's the same deck, slight differences, but it's literally the same deck. So they are definitely, I won't be surprised if I even start, if my guys pick up this one right away, but we'll see. But you will definitely see the second edition on screen shortly. Thanks for tuning in and see you soon.